Okay, the live button is live. I always have to check that. If I don't, Ryan will. He's in the backdrop doing that, checking to make sure that I hit the button. Hey, wow, it was just Tuesday. If you guys didn't get an opportunity to see Tuesday's show, it's out there, it's archived. Go out, look at it. The Renaissance Man, the modern Renaissance Man, I always short and truncate it. It's modern Renaissance Man. That's right, the modern Renaissance Man. Ty Smith joined us. That was a kind of literally a God incidence from out of nowhere. We put a show together called Back to the Future, which really took us back to the days of Ty actually voting for Trump for the very first time, and how he came to be the modern Renaissance man. But everything, Ty Smith. If you don't follow him, by all means, go out there, like, subscribe, the modern Renaissance man, YouTube. But if you're here today, thank you. We are T minus, let's see, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can vote on Saturday and Sunday. Monday, Tuesday. If you take away the rest of the day today, that leaves us with 5, count them 5. And now we're not talking about footlongs. We're talking about 5 days until election day. Get out there and vote. Vote early, in person. That's what it's going to take. We know what we're up against. Obviously, the news cycle right now, you can't really make this stuff up. It's Oh, by the way, I'm going to get rid of my ums. I just noticed the other day, I'm fallen into a bad habit. Back in my days of college, I know speech 101. Ums are interrupters. I don't do ums, but I sure have been lately. But then again, who isn't going, um, um, wow, what is going to happen next? And I know we're going to share that with you today. Can you even believe what has transpired since Tuesday? I mean, now we first were deplorables under Hillary, then we were Nazis under Kamala, and now we're garbage people. And then, if that wasn't enough, Mark Cuban's out there insulting half of the electorate. I mean, whether they vote for Trump or not, he's insulting women overall, and especially the women who support Trump. But I'm pretty certain you talk about a misogynist viewpoint, Mark Cuban. Wow, you are shark bait. I mean, oh, that's not the name of the show, is it? It's Shark Tank. But you're shark bait, Mark. Keep it up. Keep talking. We are. It's in the immortal words of cousin Eddie on Christmas Vacation. It's the gift that keeps on giving. These folks can't get out of their way. And with all that said, with all the support they're getting from the legacy media, the bought and paid for propaganda Bolshevik media that we have in this country today, they're the ones who are spinning everything. They're the ones who are drawing this race in favor of Kamala, because that's the only shot they have, right? If they don't keep the race close, then they can't steal it. And that's basically the title of the show today. Stop the steal. As many of you know, I was part of a bus trip out to J6 to the Ellipse, which is where Kamala spoke the other night, what did she really have to say? It was, according to those who view these things, it was a pretty good speech, right, for her. But ultimately, a little too late. Obviously, too little, too late, because she has so many things to overcome. In fact, that very night was when Biden referred to the Trump supporters as garbage, which in turn just help capitalize. And we're going to share all that today with you, because there is so much out there. And there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, the Ryan Mack Show. Ryan Mack. Ryan, what can be said?
It's almost like you need a 3-hour show every day to cover everything that happens in the news headlines. I mean, there's so much to bring up and talk about. We've got the the election coming up, as you said, we've got stories coming out of every state. It seems like that there's something wonky going on with the process. You got Mark Cuban calling half the country's supporters women that aren't really women, I guess. Um, and you've got the left completely obliterating the narrative that Trump is saying that he's Hitler, and now they call half the country garbage. So there's going to be so many things you can't keep your head wrapped around it. It's
Well,
insane.
that's interesting that you bring up the 3-hour show because you have a job, you have to feed your family, you and your wife, beautiful wife Amanda, who probably will be
Mhm.
checking in here in the comment section at any time. But we have jobs.
Yeah.
And granted, I took this on as something as, I was doing my show, the DPB show on Cities 92.9. Unfortunately, they made a decision to get rid of some of the local talent. I don't think it was financial. I think it was just a matter of shifting away from the programming and trying to fill some voids. And yes, they were paying me a little money, not much, but it was much appreciated. Obviously, you like to be paid for your time, and we're going to move towards monetizing this the DPB show, the Ryan Mack show, because that's how you none of the people out there, the Dan Bonginos, the Glenn Beck, they
Mhm.
didn't start out as big as they were, the Mark Levins. It took time. They had to build their audiences.
Yeah.
They had to bring, credibility to what they were doing.
Yep.
Ryan, you and I mean, we don't claim to be those guys, you know.
Mhm.
Now, I will tell you this, and this is, as I always talk about on the show, the DPB show, faith is the most important thing in my life. It's God first, then my family, specifically my wife, my children. Have some amazing news that I'm going to share with you. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't have permission to do that, but I am going to get around to doing that maybe by next Tuesday, election day, where we will be live on election day 4 to 5.
Mhm.
Polls will not have closed yet.
Yep.
But having a 3-hour show is what is needed. I
Mhm.
mean, I know that. We're coming at you Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we so appreciate all of you that join us on Facebook, Twitter, X. I'm sorry. I thought I broke myself of saying Twitter X. Who wants to say Twitter? Because Twitter was old Jack Dorsey, who was
Yep.
part of the conspiracy to steal the election of 2020. And we're going to hit upon that a little bit today because that's part of the dysfunction that the Democrat Party has found themselves in. They don't have Jack Dorsey at Twitter anymore. They don't have Mark Zuckerberg. Not to say Mark Zuckerberg isn't doing things behind the scenes. I know that
Right.
he came out and said some kind things about President Trump after he was shot. He thought that was,
Mhm.
he said he used the word bad and then put the word ASS behind it. See how I did that? I didn't say bad, but he was bad. But Mark Zuckerberg's still on the side. He's totally in
Yeah.
with most of the people, but they don't have the ability to utilize a lot of things that they had, the resources back in 2020. However, getting back to our show being more frequently, X, Rumble, the new platform, once
Mhm.
again, birthed out of the fact that they saw what happened in 2020. They
Yep.
saw the steal. They know the censorship that it was going on. I loved it because I had a guy that I worked with at the radio that teaches over at the university, calls himself a libertarian.
Mhm.
Um, he's actually he's got the lib part right. It's just I don't know about the Tarian part, but he does identify as a libertarian, so we'll let him have that. But he's the one who we used to say, "Oh, censorship. There's no proof of that, and there's no proof of voter fraud either." You can't
Interesting.
prove a counterfactual, right? Especially when you're
Mhm.
cheating so much that
Yeah.
and like I said, I don't want to steal the thunder of the show today, but you're right, Ryan. We could do so much more on the DPB show, the Ryan Mack show, and we're hopefully going to grow into that with the audience that we are building. I will say this, you look at a guy like Ty Smith and our live chat, our live audience counter went to places that I've never seen of anyone from a local
Yeah.
standpoint.
Yep.
And we're going to build there. we're going to build there, but we're going to do it based on the fact that we're bringing content, we're bringing a conversation, especially in micro markets, regional markets like the
Yep.
Central Illinois market, because nobody's really doing it in Illinois that I'm aware of. I know that Kat does a little bit of podcasting. I know that the people at The Answer, whether it's Mark Vargas, whether it's John Anthony, uh, Jeannie Ives is doing a little bit of work. Down south, you've got radio programs. You got Annie Fry. She's doing
Mhm.
conservative talk.
Yep.
Peggy Hubbard's out there. I mean, Peggy Hubbard just has numbers crazy, similar to Ty Smith because of her run for the United States Senate
Yep.
twice. So there is a lot on the horizon. You're going to see more and more of this type of programming, no matter what happens on November 5th. I will, as God is my witness, I don't think that's going to change. I don't think they can change it. I think they know what they're up against. They are seeing the numbers, the turnout, early voting. Whether they're believing that's a shifting of the people who vote on election day, I don't buy it. I believe there has always been a silent majority. I believe that more Democrats are coming over to vote for Trump, not because he's a Republican, because he has a policy of America first,
Yeah.
of make America great again. That's what people are getting behind. They're getting behind make America great again. They're starting to realize that's just not a Republican conservative tagline. That's about all of us. We the people, stated right here behind me in the
Mhm.
Constitution.
Yep.
People are waking up that they've been sold a bill of goods, whether it's open borders, whether it's economy, whether it's oil independence, or I should energy independence, whether it's what's happening in our schools with our children, from the whole gender craziness is what it is, and indoctrinating kids with gender affirmation. They're just tired of it. The wars, another thing they're tired of. We're tired of giving our kids away,
Mhm.
our loved ones away
Mhm.
to other countries, as like Afghanistan, which Kamala has yet to talk about.
Yep.
It's funny. JB Pritzker, a supposed leader, never talks about stuff like that. Never talks about the crime in Chicago. Never
Mhm.
holds anything accountable. What does he blame? He blames guns because
Yeah.
guns kill people, not
Or
people.
Brandon Johnson will blame the racist reporters for asking him questions on crime in Chicago.
Oh
He
yeah.
just he just wiped out an entire school board because they weren't doing enough what they wanted him to do. So he gets to appoint an entire new Chicago public school board.
Well, but that's not you're not being a dictator if you're
No,
doing that.
no,
Dictator
not at
on
all.
day one, Brandon? Are you a dictator? I mean, when you believe that Lori Lightfoot is to the right of Brandon Johnson and
Hmm.
what kind of leader she was, that's what you have in
Yeah.
Brandon. He
Yep.
is a flat up, straight up Jeremiah Wright. You remember old Jeremiah Wright?
I don't.
Come
Maybe you
on.
do. Maybe you do.
That's right. I'm aging myself. Jeremiah Wright was the pastor for Barack Obama in Chicago. You remember?
I
It
don't.
wasn't God Bless America, it was God.
Yes, that's right. I didn't know if it was Jeremiah Wright or somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremiah
Yeah, I
Wright.
do remember that. Yeah.
Well, Jeremiah
I
Wright.
was
However, that's a bright spot, and I don't have I have so many tabs I think we need to get to, but, we're almost 13 minutes into the show, but Jeremiah Wright was definitely a Saul Alinsky, Marxist, and what's happening in Chicago, I'm going to tell you right here, right now, make a little prediction that, Jeremiah Wright, chicken's coming home to roost. That's right. But I'm going to
Mhm.
make a prediction right now. Cook County's not going to go red.
No.
However, the the community, the Black community, the Hispanic community
Mhm.
in the South Side of Chicago, Darren Bailey greased the skids
Mhm.
during his campaign running for governor. He went up where JB Pritzker was unwilling to go,
Yeah.
um, and met with people. And they found it hard to believe Darren. They liked Darren. They loved Darren.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a movement came around him because Darren spoke to so many Black African American churches. He
Mhm.
spoke to the Hispanic churches. He spoke to the Indian community. And he had to go up there and tell them, hey, guys, you're getting this wrong. These people, meaning the Democrat Party and their acolytes have been telling you the same thing over and over again for so many years. Now, credit where credit's due, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, probably
Mhm.
criminal most of the time. The Daley family really controlled Chicago and made Chicago work. It was the city that worked, right?
Yep.
Because the Daleys were somewhat kind of the offspring of organized crime. They
Mhm.
ran the city like mob bosses and they got away with it. I mean, so they kind of controlled it and they did a very good job. I'm not going to take anything away from it. The way the city used to leak, the cleanliness of it, it was a safe city. You didn't have the crime in Chicago, right? That you do now.
No, no,
Things were
not
in
even
check.
close. Yeah,
But the advent of what transpired after that, the Brandon Johnsons, the Lori Lightfoots, the Marxism that moved into that community,
yeah,
and a lot of that was spurred on by Barack Hussein Obama.
yeah.
And a lot of that just started to morph. And then the Kim Foxes of the world. And you're looking at the crime, but JB never talks about that.
Nope.
So Ryan, we got a lot to cover. I think the first one to get up is this one that I pulled up from this gentleman, Western Lensman. I don't know if you guys follow him on Twitter or not, but it's somebody worth it. Go out, follow him. Uh, he Elon Musk actually shared this post. I'm going to get to it, pull it down a little bit because you've got to see the advent of what they're talking about here.
Yep.
Western Lensman, U.S. elections headlines, 10:30. So yesterday, 24. All of this in one day. One day. PA, Pennsylvania. Trump wins in Bucks County, PA, after being forced to sue after voting lines being shut down early. You can speak into that a little bit, Ryan.
Yeah, there's actually a video,
Oh,
that I
if
that I can
you got a
pull up.
video, bring it up.
Yeah, so this was what, Charlie Kirk posted it too. I don't know if I can see the video. I think there was a video. There was a video and there was a picture that Charlie Kirk had, because there's not really officials in Bucks County doing this. But this is
But
maybe not.
the
Anyway,
essence of it is they were telling people
they
that
were
they were
voting and
closing.
they were cutting them off before the deadline, the time deadline, and people in badges that said voter protection, there was no reason to have voter protection people at this place. But there were officers telling people to go away and not vote because they were not extending the deadline. And then they sued because this is what happens now when after 2020 we had no idea what was coming at us. Scott Pressler and it got word all the way up to the GOP nationally, and they sued and they won, and now they have lines open until Friday until 5 o'clock or later for voting.
Well,
So that was one incident of that. They're shutting down lines of voting because there's just too many people voting.
and I'm glad you brought that up because we have more eyeballs. When you talk about the advent of poll watchers, which means
Yes.
people who are going into the polling places where a polling place can consist of multiple precincts.
Yep.
And you have poll watchers going in and actually overseeing how the chain of custody goes with these ballots, how they're
Yep.
now it's so much bigger than that
Hmm.
because the advent of social media, especially X, and having the vehicle of X to openly share information,
Yep.
videos, the one that we talked about on Tuesday, where
Yeah.
the delivery truck, I don't know if it was a United States Postal Service or an actual election authority delivery vehicle, and they did not secure the door. And sure enough,
Yep.
a or a box full of ballots, a plastic container full of ballots that was sealed,
Hmm.
hopped out of the vehicle, so did a bag of ballots, and they were live ballots, meaning they had already been voted ballots. And fortunately, a good Samaritan picked it up and they knew what was going on. They turned it into the police department, and lo and behold, this is what, and that went viral, right?
Yeah. And
So,
then
like all of
you had ballot boxes tossed on fire and torched in other places. In Washington, I think. Washington State.
Washington and Oregon, I was just
Yeah.
reading an article before we
Yep.
came live today. But think about this, because Kat and I were on the phone prior to this.
Mhm.
You have Washington and Oregon.
Yeah.
Come on, they're blue states.
Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of impact outside of the popular vote? Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah,
want to
and
win the
maybe
popular vote.
yeah, and people not to say that people wouldn't, torch a mailbox, but the likelihood of having that many ballots in a mailbox versus a drop-off box is different. You're not gonna have maybe a handful of ballots in a mailbox if you torch it, but a drop-off box should almost be illegal because the sole purpose of having a ballot drop-off box is gonna have hundreds, if not thousands of ballots stuffed in there.
Well,
So
in
that
in
may not have an impact as much as we think it is, but any a numbering of ballots is being torched and no longer able to be counted.
well, there's a lot of suspicious things as we go on
Yep.
in the Western Lensman's little accounting of what happened in just one day. One
Yeah.
day, yesterday, 10:30.
One day.
Uh, Now you got the shutting down Bucks County. Fortunately, they stepped in and they
Yep.
ruled that now early in-person voting has to be extended. I think they extended it to Saturday, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah, Friday or
So
Saturday it went into, yeah.
I
Mhm.
think it was today, tomorrow, and then Saturday. So
Yep.
those people, once again, is the one lady that was out there who happened to be a delegate for Trump. She was taken away in handcuffs because all she was doing was telling people, do
Yep.
not get out of line.
Yes.
Do not get out
It's
of line.
blatant election interference.
That's right.
It's
Do not get
intimidation.
out of line
Yeah.
because they can't stop you if you're in line from voting. And she
Mhm.
was giving heeding good advice. I don't know if she ever was arrested, but that was, just another instance. But going on, Virginia, SCOTUS, meaning the Supreme Court,
Yep.
rules in favor of Virginia after Kamala's DOJ attempts to reinstate self-identified non-citizens on Virginia voter rolls. We have a whole thing to deal with voter rolls here in Illinois. Same with Michigan,
Mhm.
where in Michigan, actually, it came out
Yep.
and you didn't hear anything about it. They had more people on the voter rolls than they did eligible voters by something like 800,000. It
Yeah.
was just some huge number. It's
Yep.
similar here in Illinois. We
The,
don't hear much
yeah,
about it because we're not a swing state, but
right.
JB has the same issue. But
Yeah.
I do want to finish my thought on the Washington, Oregon thing.
Yep.
Popular vote's important. They're blue states. I don't read a lot into it. Firebombing.
Yeah.
I think it's all a distraction. Once again, who's
Mhm.
distracting? The people who are trying to scurry because they know that the days are numbered and there are so many lives that are impacted when Trump takes office again. And some of those lives need to be impacted. They need to be held accountable for what they have done. So
Yeah.
when it's reported by Kamala that Trump has a list, oh, I bet he has a list.
Yeah.
10 years of going through the
Yep.
living
Mhm.
persecution that man has endured. I think it's time we get to the bottom of this. I want congressional hearings. I want a Department of Justice that
Mhm.
investigates. I want an FBI that's holding people accountable for real crimes. So yes, I do. Obviously, having non-citizens and and then having your DOJ try to reinstate it.
Yeah,
What does that say?
1,600, people on the voters rolls in Virginia were deemed ineligible and they sued to stop it because their argument was, well, they could have became citizens after they hit the bubble that were citizen. And then they made all kinds of excuses in the court and the judge didn't buy it. And they said, no, they can absolutely do this. So now you have that now 1,600 in a state of Virginia. What impact does that have? Regardless, small, large, medium, the impact is still there. You cannot
Well,
have people on your voter rolls that are inactive voters. You have to get rid of them.
here's the thing, Ryan. There's not going to be 85 million votes for Kamala Harris.
No.
And if there is, we have to be suspicious again. Um, because she outperformed any other president ever in the history of elections. Trump obviously received the most votes that any incumbent president has ever received, and
Yeah.
Joe Biden, um, Sleepy Joe, was
Mhm.
able to get 85 million. Well, if you think 1,600 doesn't mean a lot, it's merely trying to move the needle. They're
Yes.
trying to experiment, and that's what a lot of these things are about. They're trying to find out what can they do
Yeah.
on election night.
Well, and they've lost the early vote, battle, right? Because even if all those votes, not necessarily 100% of them are for Trump, just the sheer number of early voting by Republicans in these states that probably sat home and waited till election day in the past. They don't have a plan where they go, okay, we're up by a million votes in the state, and election day totals, they can't run it up on us, so we've got it. They can't do that anymore. So now what do they turn? They turn to these
Well,
tactics. Well, we can
here's
shut people down. We can have voting machine errors. We can do different things to distract. A water
here,
main break.
here's another one out of Colorado.
Yeah,
Secretary of State Jenna Griswold,
yeah.
no relation to
She
Clark.
is nuttier than a fruitcake.
Well, then maybe she is related to Clark then. Clark Griswold of Christmas Vacation. I'm making a lot of
Yeah,
Christmas Vacation references
yeah,
today. Leaks voting systems passwords online, meaning the the passwords for the voting systems
yeah. How does that
were
happen?
given away. I mean, this is worse than Bill Clinton giving
Yeah,
the secrets away to China.
she was the one that was contesting whether or not Trump should be on a ballot for insurrection too.
Surprise, surprise,
Yeah,
surprise, in the
that was one of
immortal
the
words
first
of
states.
Gomer Pyle.
Yeah. Mhm.
Immortal words of Gomer Pyle.
Yeah.
Then on to Michigan. Attorney Matthew DePerno, is that how you say that?
Yeah.
DePerno identifies single voter IDs being used. Single voter IDs being used to cast multiple ballots.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know the algorithm of that one, but if you start getting 10, 15 votes per voter ID, that
Mm.
can add up pretty quickly,
Yeah.
especially in a swing state. And notice that these states, Pennsylvania, Virginia, not so much Colorado, but
Yeah.
definitely
Michigan.
there
Yeah.
is some relevance to it. As you
Mhm.
said, Ryan,
Yeah.
Jenna was one of the people who was trying to get Trump thrown off the ballot in the
Yep.
state of Colorado. I mean, literally thrown off the ballot. Uh, then right below that, it says the Secretary of State. So the attorney, Matthew Perino, identifies from Michigan. Then the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, announces nationwide, that cannot be fixed. I mean, well, here we are, 5 days from election day, and it can't be fixed with Dominion voter access terminals, because once again, we were always told that the machines weren't plugged in, but
Yeah.
yet they are being corrupted.
Mm.
How? Oh, that's what Kamala Harris, you guys remember. Let me just get us back on screen. You remember what Kamala Harris was saying? The cloud, that's kind of like up
Yeah.
here
It's,
and
floating in the sky, and that's where all the
floating
data
in
is,
all
and it's
around us.
a fluffy thing that holds data now. It's not
That's
on
right.
paper.
And so you had the Kamala floating in the sky, Jocelyn
Yep.
Benson, no way
M
to fix it. And then
Michigan is interesting because you have the Muslim leadership in Dearborn, Michigan, the largest, Muslim population coming out and supporting and endorsing President Trump. So
yeah.
we got I know we have the voter issues up there in that state we did before, but now you have a shift in the electorate because now you have Muslim population traditionally probably conservative as far as most of the families in the area, but then you got the Ilhan Omars, the Rashida Tlaib type. But they're very traditional by design. If you're not extreme progressive or you're not anti-American and you're actually American citizens, you're probably pretty much traditional values, marriage, family, and you don't want this crazy stuff happening. And for them to come out and endorse President Trump says a lot. And I'm betting you that will make a huge difference in Dearborn and in the Michigan population for election day.
And all of these communities, especially in the swing
Yeah.
states,
Yep. It makes
there
a huge difference.
things are happening. Okay, finally,
Mhm.
let's wrap this up with Western Lensman.
Yep.
In Pennsylvania, once again, another swing state. All of this happening are with the headlines. All this in day one. Now, of course, there weren't headlines on the Morning Joe show with Joe
Right.
Scarborough.
Yeah.
I mean, believe me, if you waste your life watching that guy for 12 seconds, you've
Yeah.
surrendered time you'll never get back, and brain cells that you probably, it's definitely not going to make you a smarter person. There's no redeeming quality whatsoever about that man. In fact, most of the folks on the legacy media side of the aisle, which happens to be the propagandist Bolshevik media sources, those people have sold their souls. They
Mhm.
really have. And they're all in on destroying America as we know it. Now, granted, they'll profess up and down how they are protecting democracy, and that's their first mistake, because I don't want to protect democracy. I want to protect the republic.
Yep.
As Benjamin Franklin said, these are the words he was once said, according to historians, that what they did with this Constitution is they gave us a republic. And in Benjamin Franklin's words were, "We've given you a republic if you can keep it,"
Mm-hmm.
because they knew what we were up against. See, a democracy is the majority rules. If you get enough people, you rule. That's why they don't want an electoral college, because that's not the majority, right? In
Mm-hmm.
most cases, the winner, you can win the popular vote, but not win the electoral vote. And that's what Trump did in 2016. And they love to profess how the masses voted for him. And now we know that it's easy to win the popular vote if you're spending most of your time censoring your competition, indicting your competition, shooting at your competition, and deplatforming your competition, and then finding all of the inactive voters you can and voting their ballots, whether they intended to vote their ballots or not.
Yep.
That's the stealing process. And finally, from Pennsylvania, and I thought this was something that happened back in 2020, and I didn't realize it. And then Mrs. Producer, my beautiful wife, Tanya, said, no, no, this actually happened on ABC TV station
Yeah.
during a race. They accidentally airs election results of Harris winning Pennsylvania by
Mm-hmm.
5% with 100% in.
Yeah.
And they had a specific number, 3 million something. I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember the precise number.
Three something to 2 million something. Yeah.
2.8.
Yeah.
So they actually had a number that they generated and posted. Now, were they just pretending, or were they practicing calling the election early?
Yeah, because it
Or
was on the chyron on the bottom that runs, right? It flips up different
yeah,
news things, and yeah, so it could have been typed in and just kind of left there as a precursor to flip up
yeah.
there. I don't know.
And all of this, like I said, all this is documented, as you can see
Yep.
on Twitter, or I'm sorry, I did it again. X.
X.
There's no Twitter. Twitter was Jack Dorsey's tweets. X is Elon, the X Factor, dark mega. But bottom line is, this is stuff you can find. It's out there. Go to X, look up Western Lensman. He's a great one. Elon actually shared that post. A lot of good stuff out there, and it just keeps coming at us at, oh, there it is. Thank you,
Yep.
Mrs. Producer. 3.2 million 93 712 to 2.9 million 97. I mean, these numbers are just precise. 100% reporting. So here we are in the early voting stages. In-person early voting, vote by mail ballots are still being delivered, processed. In fact, that'll, as long as they're postmarked in most states, by election night, they can be counted. That's where you have adjudication, meaning still receiving votes. The beautiful thing is, and I think Bongino points this out best, if we're up by 10,000 and there's only 2,000 outstanding votes,
Mm-hmm.
that's still a victory for
Yes.
us.
Yes.
That's why it's important to get your ballot in early, preferably in person at one of the voting centers. Get out, get them in, encourage everyone you know. If people haven't voted, and this is a shout out now. I mean, everybody's getting sexist about this election. I'm going to be sexist. You know who we're seeing maybe lag a little behind in this election is men.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what's going on, men. Step it up. I mean, what in the world? To even hear reports that men, and I get it, you guys have been beaten down, knocked down. That's what the whole Oliver Anthony song was about.
Mm-hmm.
Men getting the short end of the stick, but rich men north of Richmond, they want to have total control. They want to beat you down 6 foot under. He's
Yep.
seen lives change. This is an opportunity for men to recapture what we've lost. Yes, we've been feminized. We've been brutalized. We've been taken out of the equation of the family. Hollywood would like to eliminate us. Women don't think that they need us anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they portray us as: bumbling, stumbling idiots.
Yep.
I'm sure that's the next group of men that Mark Cuban's going to attack. But
Yep.
but get out and vote, because this is why the steal is definitely in. They can't figure out how to maneuver around this swamp the vote movement, this bank the vote movement. And it came. I mean, they were very subtle about it. Laura Trump overtook. She was appointed the RNC co-chair, and her and Michael Watley, with the help of Scott Pressler, persistence, um, they went out and they devised a plan on early voting. They devised a plan on election integrity and how to win back some of these swing states. Because at the end of the day, you already know the states. It's pretty clear when you look at the map who's going to go where. California, Oregon, like I said, Washington. You look up and down the West Coast, you look at the Northeast, you get the states that are going to go blue. Those people, they love their social collectivism, Marxism. They love it in their universities. They love it in their Hollywood. That's why you see so many Hollywood characters. I'm sorry, actors. Did I call them characters?
Actors, close enough.
Characters coming out and supporting Kamala Harris is because the map's already pretty consistent. It's the swing states.
Yep.
That's what decides the vote.
Yeah.
That's because it's the Electoral College. That's what they can't overcome. That's what they're trying to figure out because they have to have those states. They don't get those states. The other states are pretty much given. Some of those states like Indiana,
Washington, Oregon, California, those are all solid.
Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina. Those states are going red. Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Idaho.
The ones that are going to be called like 5 seconds after the polls close, you'll know right away where the solid red and blue ones lie, and then you just fill in between. Ones we don't know are the swing states, the North Carolinas, the Michigan, Pennsylvania. Virginia has an interesting run because it flipped governorship. Nevada's an interesting one to watch now with Republican leadership in charge. Arizona's still going to be a mixed bag. You got, Pennsylvania, Ohio, the Senate races are also going to be something to watch too, because if Trump wins the presidency, he needs to have the House and Senate. If the Democrats take the House and Senate, they impeach him. That's immediately their first thing they're going to do. So he has to win both chambers in order to be effective.
Well, and I think I have this, and I just think I have it down in I have Kayleigh McNamee kind of giving us the rundown on Mark Cuban and his comments about, because I think it's important we play things like this because, it's let me, I think I got to pull this down a little bit because I think I had it up above.
Do you want me to play what he says and then you can play what she said after that?
If you want to play what he says, and then I'll play Kayleigh.
This is a really short clip of about.
Well, mine's 123. Why don't I play this?
That's that's fine if you've got it. Yep,
I got it. I got it right here.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent.
Oh, hold on. Let me do that.
It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him.
Sorry about that.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them.
Mark Cuban. Okay, I had to take a breath before this because this is so profoundly offensive. I worked for Donald Trump. I consider myself a strong woman. I consider those around me strong women. Kellyanne Conway, Brooke Rollins, Ivanka Trump, Hope Hicks, Sarah Sanders. That's before we get to the women that Donald Trump elevated to very high levels, like Nikki Haley, who still supports him, like Amy Coney Barrett, who he put on the Supreme Court, or the women currently around him. Susie Wiles comes to mind, Caroline Leavitt. That is so offensive. And you know why? Because it's not just about the women who worked for him. He said the women around Donald Trump. This comes right after the Joe Biden garbage comment. Okay, the women around Donald Trump. What about the women who vote for Donald Trump? Are they weak? Are they dumb? Did Mark Cuban just insult any woman who supports Donald Trump? Because it's a little, very small step from that. And this is an official Harris campaign surrogate, Mark Cuban. That is misogynistic in my view. Get out of here, Mark Cuban. Kamala Harris, he's your surrogate. I want to hear from you. Do you agree the women are weak and ineffective? Whatever he said, get out of here. And I can't wait to hear from you, Kamala.
Oh,
Hold on. I don't, I haven't heard anybody deny what Mark Cuban said. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to pull this up because old Karine Jean-Pierre, KJP, she said that Joe Biden didn't say that Trump supporters were garbage people. So if you have an opportunity to pull that up,
Yep.
But I do want to give a little context to Kaylee's passionate, display of, are you kidding me? In light of everything that's happened, first they were fascists and Nazis in Madison Square Garden, a dictator on day one, deplorables by Hillary. Of course, Hillary was not only telling you that you're deplorable, but she also doesn't believe that you're smart enough to decipher information. So she wants to do the media literacy thing and school everywhere else where she can control free speech, because dictators don't control free speech. But I mean, it just has snowballed. Joe Biden, now Mark Cuban. I mean, these people, I get it. They definitely need to steal the election because they're not competent enough and to actually run our country.
Yeah.
I mean, and Kaylee just listed off a whole host of women who are very competent. I mean, some of the other ones she didn't name: Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota.
Yep.
She did mention Nikki Haley. But then you throw in a Laura Trump, who is the co-chair, as I just said, of the RNC, the Republican National Committee. I mean, and the list goes on and on.
And the women that Trump were married to that have his kids. His kids are some of the best kids that I've ever seen a politician or a billionaire have. They're well-rounded. The women, it takes strong women to raise those types of individuals. Now, obviously, Trump, had his part too, but strong, independent women can raise really well-rounded kids.
Well,
so that comment was ridiculous.
Well,
but that was after this, so I got this pulled up.
Okay, yep, I saw that because you.
Yep.
So you can put that on, right?
Yep, this is Biden calling everybody, every Trump supporter, floating garbage, essentially. Now, I have to give some defense to Hillary because she only said half of us were deplorable.
Deplorables. Okay.
So the other half apparently was smelly Walmart shoppers, but the other half were deplorable. So here's Joe Biden on video calling all of us garbage.
Oh, do I have to add that? Nope, I didn't add it. There you go.
There we go.
Go ahead, start over.
Yep, got it.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
His supporters.
Oh, so his supporters.
Yeah, we got to get KJP up there.
Yep.
I clicked on my Mrs. Producer. Mrs. Producer was there for a second. How about this one? This is another one that's pretty impressive. I'm gonna get her in here. This gal is dynamic, but let's hear from her.
Brooke Rollins.
And it's very, you got to listen closely.
Rollins. I feel it necessary to take a moment to respond to Mark Cuban's vile and sexist comments that there are no smart or strong women around President Trump. As the former White House domestic policy chief to President Trump, and for the last 4 years founding and leading the America First Policy Institute with another strong woman, Linda McMahon, alongside Kellyanne Conway, Carla Sands, Pam Bondi, Alveda King, but also thinking back to the last White House. Mark Cuban, did you know that we had more women on senior staff, working moms, than any other White House in the history of this country? So how dare you say that President Trump has no strong, smart women around him? Look at Susie Wiles, his campaign manager. Look at Laura Trump, the head of the RNC. Look at Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary of the current campaign, who runs circles around the leftist media all day, every day. For a party that can't even define what a woman is, shame on you. Hi, this is Brooke Rollins.
Let me stop her real quick. But I mean, is Mark Cuban, is he married? I mean, is this man a smart? I mean, I know he's a billionaire through tech. He better really retreat back to the tech world, because he doesn't appear too smart in the rest of the world. I mean,
No.
he just opened himself up. Can you imagine the platform that some of these women have? I mean, there are a list. I mean, Wendy Bell, she comes to mind. She has a podcast. I don't know if you ever catch her, Wendy Bell. I mean,
Mm-mm.
huge following on
Mhm.
the world of Rumble and YouTube. But Wendy Bell's husband is was a surgeon. I think he still is. Might be retired, but she's got a powerful voice. I mean, the list goes on and on. And how about the people who weren't necessarily on the side, the women who weren't on the side of Trump
Yeah.
prior to this? What do you think they're thinking at this point?
Yeah. That.
I mean, I'm assuming Kamala is going to come out in the next 24 hours. I'm just kidding. And she's going to denounce that Mark Cuban speaks on behalf of her, because she hasn't denounced the garbage thing yet. She hasn't denounced the Nazi thing. She tried to it. I don't know about you. I didn't really pull any clips from her speech. I mean, I was hearing they were having a crowd argument, as far as crowd size argument, whether she had 70,000. Well, I'm going to tell you, the last time I was at the Ellipse, January 6th, there were
Mhm.
about 1 million people. Now, I granted, if you would have read the legacy media, the communist media, they would
Yeah.
tell you that there were only 30,000 people
Yeah.
on J6. It happened to be, I've got pictures. I should have pulled one up. I could show you the crowd size. I'm not an expert at crowd sizing, but I'm pretty certain that it was a lot more than 30,000 and a lot more than 70,000. And yeah, so
Yep. Yeah. I've seen videos or pictures of her rally saying, 75,000 people here, 0 fires, 0 people dead, whatever. And what I also chimed in and said 0 people voted for her also. So there's that.
hey, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Berwin Bob is in the
Yep.
house. Berwin Bob, thanks for coming on. Hi, guys. OMG, someone obviously has called in a marker, or Mark Cuban. He's always spouting off, but wow, no strong women. Yeah, how about Darlene? What does she feel about that, Bob? See if you can put up with that in your household. I mean, I'm sure that doesn't work. I guarantee you, Mrs. Producer,
No.
if I said that there were no intelligent women around me, you know, that I and my wife brought up a good point. I wish she'd jump on and say something, because she said it best. And since I know that she's too shy sometimes to jump on, she said, and he did that on The View.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the most strongest and independent
Most
women on The View.
some of the most intelligent, smart women in this
Yeah.
world on The View. Yes. Wow. I mean, you can't make it up. Oh, you pulled the KJP piece up.
We now have on video that Joe Biden called every one of us garbage, right? But even his own press secretary said, well, that's not what he said. He didn't say everybody was garbage. He was referring to the joke. So here he
economy
is.
has grown 12.6% under this administration,
this is
more
the
than
right clip.
any presidential term in 25
Somebody asked her
years.
if he said it.
We have gone from the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression to
Maybe
the
not.
strongest economy in the world.
Did you get the right one,
16
Ryan?
million jobs.
I thought I
created.
did.
I'm gonna do the Dan Bongino thing on you. See,
Yeah, it
come on,
was
guys.
this. Yeah, it was the right clip. No, this is the wrong clip. So here is. Let me pull. I got it pulled up on an extra tab. I just thought that one was a shorter clip that was easier to get
Ryan,
to.
I understand what you say. When you have too many tabs open, things
Well,
can get a
there's
little hectic.
it's the same like conference where she's wearing that green jacket, so it's like different clips of her saying different topics. So this is the one I do have it here. the
Okay.
the louder with Crowder clip.
Okay.
Right clip, wrong clip.
let me make sure I can add it to the stage.
Okay.
Okay,
All
ready?
right.
All
Yep.
right. Here
All
we
right.
go.
This is the right clip now.
Okay.
She's asked about
Does he
not calling
think
him.
less of Americans who support Trump than he does of those who do not? And two, why is he using that kind of rhetoric? How is that presidential?
So a couple of things. So just to clarify, he was not calling Trump supporters garbage, which is why he
Oh.
put out. This is why he wanted to make sure that we put out a statement that clarified what he
Clarified.
What did he
trying
say?
to say. And so just want to make that very clear for folks.
What did he say? His supporters.
His
Let's look.
supporters.
Yes. His,
They're
his
always
supporters.
walking back what he said. Day later, like, oh, geez, Joe, come on, man. You can't say that. And then they got to walk it back the next day after him saying it.
I wish I had. I wish I had the one of the two dumpsters rolling down the street during a rainstorm. It was basically off the early voting after hearing Biden refer to the voters, Trump supporters, as garbage, and these things were moving down the street. I mean, it was during a very significant wind event, wind event. And I thought it was classic because that's, outside of a dumpster fire on wheels. I mean, this is what this campaign is. So help me help others understand how in the world you believe that these folks can actually even come close to handling the issues that we face as a country. I mean, we have significant issues. The economy never gets talked about. Have you heard them put out anything about the economy, whether it's Mark Cuban, Joe Biden? Of course, now they're touting some, the gross national product, was it the GNP that came up, or the gross domestic product came up and was risen, but that's all smoke and mirrors because now they're going to correct it in the next couple of days. But this is the Hail Marys. I mean, it's mind boggling. It's mind boggling. I see you got another one up there, but Ryan, I'm working on licking my eyeballs.
Yeah.
I didn't say licking my eyeballs. I'm looking at my eyeballs.
That's a talent, though, if you're licking your eyeballs.
If you can lick your eyeballs, things are happening. But I get so caught up in what's going on down here with the different screens. But I'll add it to the stage. You tell us what you got, Ryan.
Yep. All right. So in response to, again, another Biden-Harris malfunction on the public speaking standpoint, Trump, the master of snapshots and sound bites, took it upon himself when he arrived in Green Bay to arrive in none other than a garbage truck. It's picked up in Wisconsin on a garbage truck.
That's why they're all alcoholic.
You can't make this up.
Yeah, you can't. That is classic. The totality of it, and the thing I really want to impress upon you today, if you're out there, once again, early voting, it's critical. They don't have the votes. They have to manufacture the votes. They have to steal the election. They have to deceive. They come to kill, steal, and destroy. This is what they're all about. They are the masters of hypocrisy, the masters of deception, the masters of trying to confuse the electorate. They are the masters. I mean, the Democrat Party was, as I said earlier, with the Daley family out of Chicago, it was spurred on. It was sprouted, grown out of organized crime. They are the party of the KKK. They are the party of the Confederacy. They are the party that has held back people in all walks of life because they're the party that believes government is the solution to all the problems we face. And we know that God is the solution. The Constitution is clear. Our rights don't come from Kamala Harris and the DNC and the DOJ under Merrick Garland and all the other pretenders who a long time ago should have been impeached and thrown out of office, like Alejandro Mayorkas. I mean, these are the people who are entrusted. Kamala Harris herself, as the border czar, who's only been to the border twice in 3.5 years, and she hasn't been to Europe either. But
nobody gets fired for failure in this administration.
Yeah. And so I guess what I'm trying to impress upon you is, yes, we need to get out and vote. Yes, it's going to be a close election. Why? Because they have proven time and time again that they are above the law. They say that nobody's above the law, but they are above the law because
Mhm.
they don't see that they actually think it's noble to try to steal an election. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that there haven't been nefarious types of activities on the Republican side,
Sure.
especially the swampy Republicans. But think about this: the swampy Republicans and the Democrats have joined forces. That
Mhm.
should tell us everything that we need to know. They joined forces for a reason because they're scared.
Yep.
You know, I've heard it bannered around that how many people truly can be implicated on the Epstein flight logs and the list that has been kept from the public.
Yep.
How many people could be implicated in the JFK assassination? How many people could be implicated, and some people say all of them who are coming out for Kamala in
Yeah.
Hollywood by Sean Combs's list
Yeah.
of people who attended his, whatever you call it. My wife and I couldn't even think of
Baby
the other.
oil parties.
Yeah, baby oil parties. The freak on or freak something, the
Yeah,
freak
the
show,
freak offs. Yeah.
the freak offs. I'm calling it the freak show because that's what that is. It is gross. It is
Yeah.
ugly. It's
The party
disgusting.
that is for the average American has shown us that they are for everybody but the average American.
Well, I know one thing that they're not for. They're not for those of us who attend churches on Sundays.
Mhm.
They're not for the faithful. In fact, they would like to silence us quickly.
Mhm.
They're not for the children. If they truly cared about children, they sure wouldn't allow what happens in our public school system to happen. The indoctrination. You know, I tend to lean a little towards the libertarian, and I do finish it libertarian rather than lib, because then there's no way that I can condone any liberal policies. But
Mhm.
I do condone libertarian policies when it comes to, you know what? Sin is sin. You do you after the age of 18. If you want to if it's legal in your state to get your freak on or whatever it is, freak off, then you go do that. However, keep it away from the children. And if I were to find out, and I know that there has been rumors now that this thing is so deep and wide, and how many people participated in child pornography, sex trafficking,
Mhm.
and the list goes on and on. It doesn't even have to be child pornography in general. I mean, once again, you do you. I get it. I know the size of the industry it is. I know that it's very addictive. I know it's more than addictive. I think it can be consuming and
Yep.
possessive of some people's lives. And I will pray for you. But ultimately, all of that, all of that debauchery is spurred and brought. Republicans don't propose legislation that supports pornography,
Mhm.
sex trafficking. Um, I I I don't know how to make it any clearer to those of you, and granted, I know that most of the people that will view this is Ryan and I are merely auditioning for the
Mhm.
audience of one and God. And I know we're up against the end of the show, but we really are. And most of you that tune in and come to the DPB show, the Ryan Mack show, the Ty Smith Modern Renaissance show, Kat Peterson, Paul Garcia, Josh Bender, Kevin Ferris. And I kind of named those names because this is the team that we kind of developed here in Central Illinois. We know that we're not the biggest and the best, and that's not our intention. Our intention isn't to be the biggest and the best. Our intention is to continue to push content out, to fill in the blanks. Dan Bongino, as disciplined as he is to do a show every day
Mhm.
in the radio, he can't get to all of it. As
Yeah.
Ryan said,
Yep.
it would take almost a 3-hour show by multiple people to
Yep.
cover all the headlines and everything, because thankfully we have a portal. We have a platform in X, Elon Musk. Thank you very much. I, you know, Elon came out of nowhere. I don't know what to make of the guy. You know
Mhm.
what? here's how I kind of size people up. When I meet you, I'm going to know pretty quickly whether you're a person who has surrendered their life to Christ or not. Because I'm going to ask you. It might be uncomfortable, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not there to make you uncomfortable. I'm there to do what God and Jesus Christ told me I needed to do, is to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with you. That Christ came to this earth, that Christ, lived amongst us, that he died, that he rose, and now he lives in a place that he promises to all of us, everyone. There is not a plan B. Contrary to what is being taught out there by so many different factions of Christianity or of other world religions, there is one way to heaven, to eternal life, which lies beyond. I truly believe that with my whole heart, my soul, and my mind, that lies beyond here. Why do I believe that? Because Scripture, the sword, as I talked about, the sword of truth with Scripture, the Word of God, tells us that Jesus said it. He said, I am the way, the truth, and light. No one comes to me except through me, to the Father through me. That's the only way that it's done. I got tongue-tied there for a minute because I'm looking at these eyeballs. I feel like I'm having a conversation with my camera, but I hope I did a little better job today. I try to keep my eyes from down here, but you know what? We're working on getting Mrs. Producer to pull these clips so I can say, Mrs. Producer, pull clip number 1. Run. I
5,
admire.
go.
And you know what? I was really thinking about this, and I want to get this out because this gets back to no matter what happens on November 5th, there is a November 6th. And God is still on his throne. My wife put out a beautiful post about all the things that will still be November 6th that were on November 5th and November 4th. God is on the throne. Jesus Christ is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He is our Savior. All of those things. But I couldn't help. I've been having these, and I don't dream a lot. I'm a pretty sound sleeper with not a lot of dreams. I don't know what that, maybe that's something really wrong with me because I don't dream real big dreams, but I've been having dreams, and I have to share this with you because I don't know where this is going to go. I think there's a space in this community of political commentary, faith-based political commentary. And I think that the void, and I don't think the void's ever going to be filled. I mean, there's not another Rush Limbaugh, but I've been having a lot of reruns in my mind. I've shared with you guys many times over when I was on the radio. I haven't done it too much from behind this mic here in my new little studio at the DPB show. But I started listening to Rush Limbaugh in 1988. Think about that. Rush was a fairly young man in 1988. He came out of the radio industry as yours truly but that was more of his career, right? He was a DJ, spun records, just literally took the world by surprise. And he took a lot of flack for it and continues, in his death. I mean, the things that were said about him by the radical left, it's inhuman, but that's what they do, right? They dehumanize people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But the reason for my Rush thing is there is a space for somebody to fill the void. With the content that Rush used to provide, it was true entertainment, but it was entertainment through a political spin. And yes, I believe Rush was a very faithful person. He didn't, wear it on his sleeve. If you talk to anybody that knew Rush Limbaugh, the guy was an amazing, charismatic, giving, humble, very quiet person in public. If you saw the man, he didn't, his persona was behind the golden microphone at EIB, So the reason I think God has impressed upon me to talk more about Rush is we need to recapture some of what Rush was all about. Can you even begin to wonder what Rush would be saying right now in light of everything that has transpired in the 3.5 years? I mean, I know he had great fodder with the Clintons. That seemed to be, his wheelhouse was Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. And he did great sticks. And then he had Obama, and he's the one who, coined calling him Barack Hussein Obama. You know, so many instances of how he handled himself in front of his audience.
Yep.
I can learn a lot about that. I want to learn a lot about that. I want this show to grow like Rush Limbaugh. I don't know. Is that what God intends it to be? I don't know. But I have to be true to what is the truth. See, there is a truth and there's the truth. And I know that the truth is that Jesus Christ is Lord of all. So, hey, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up today for the day. Any last comments there, Ryan, that you want to share with people before Tuesday? Because, Ryan, we are coming back on Tuesday.
Yep.
Now it's Thursday, and we've got cheating and stealing that is going to be galore. I know there's going to be more reports on Friday and Saturday. We're going to hear of machines going offline. We're going to hear ballots not being printed. You're going to see everything and anything that can happen will happen. That's why we encourage you, get out before Tuesday and vote. But go ahead.
Well,
Rig.
we need to make this too big to rig.
You got it.
Keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears open, see something, say something, make it viral, and make it corrected.
Send it to us at the DPB show. Come on, you can send it to Ryan. We will cover it if you see something wherever you're at. Now, granted, we happen to be in a place where there's irregularities. There's irregularities everywhere. This is how we learn. This is how we get better. This is how we move this thing back to same day voting with ID. Make it a federal holiday for those that need it, and they aren't the masses. We do vote by mail. No other country allows the shenanigans that we see in the United States with 40 days of voting. But I think after this election, Ryan, I think the Democrats are going to start to want to.
Did you reset? The Democrats are probably going to want to reset how extreme they are. That's probably what he was going to say. You monkey button around.
I did. I hit it. I got a little too close over here to the side, and I hit it with the elbow. But you see, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's the essence of what we're up against. So here we go, folks. It is go time. It is. We are there. We are so close. Tune in. Don't tune out. I get it. I'm worn out. I know many of you are. It's been a long election season, but mine started about 7 years ago when I announced that I was going to run for state rep against an incumbent. And part of what I believe is the swampy Republicans. Doesn't mean he's a bad human being. I think he's starting to grow and learn the problems that are out there. And I'm always willing to have a conversation, but it's unfortunate. Like I said, we've moved so far beyond that because I was sharing with you, when I size people up, where are you? Where do you stand? I'm not perfect by no means. I wish I followed Christ every day to the best of my ability, but I don't. I fail on a daily basis. Therefore, I have to speak into that and ask God, forgive me for the times that I failed to show the love of Christ to my fellow humans on a daily basis, to my wife, which happens too often. And for Mark Cuban, it happens. It seems like a lot. I don't know. Is the guy married? But the essence is we can do this. Do not lose hope. Do not lose faith. Do not listen to the mainstream media and all the other reports because they've got everything to lose. We lose nothing. We got Christ. And with that, let's go ahead and end in prayer. Dear eternal and gracious Father, what an honor it is to come to you on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 live. And then obviously the ability to have our shows watched over and over again. We're in awe, Lord, because you are on your throne. You are God alone. I love that song. Before time began, you knew it all. In fact, you know what's going to happen. Lord, I really do. I hope that we're going to get a restoration I believe that's what's going to lead to great revival in this country. Having a man in the White House that's willing to humble himself, sit in a chair, and be surrounded by ministers, Christian ministers, who lay their hands on him and call upon the power of the Holy Spirit to descend on that man, to convict him, to open his eyes to what can be. I know what can be, and I know that there are millions waiting and thirsting to come and taste and see the goodness of God. Lord, we thank you in advance for all the souls that are going to be won because of this election season. Lord, continue to guide us, continue to give us strength, continue to allow our words that we speak to others to be your words, not words of condemning, condemnation, but words of uplifting. Lord, let us be an instrument of your peace. Lord, we thank you and we pray all these things in the precious name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right.
Amen.
There's a wrap for our Thursday show. Little longer than usual. My wife says I don't have to apologize for that because it is my show. And now that I found out that Ty Smith will go with Ryan, I didn't realize Ryan was his sidekick, Baba Louie. That's from Quick Straw McGraw, in case you didn't get that one, Ryan. For 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. And then Ty says, I'm going to bed. You guys can stay on here.
Yep.
I haven't advanced to that point yet, but then again, I also am not Ty Smith, the modern Renaissance man. Who knows? We might go longer 2-hour shows. I really would like to get back into doing more interviews, but as I said, I'm building my interview list.
Yep.
Because outside of Ryan, I know where Ryan stands. I know where Darren Bailey stands. I know where there are other individuals, Jim Rule. I know where he stands. I know where Chad Burke stands. I think it's important that we have authentic, real, transparent people on the DPB show. I almost was going to be sexist and say men, but you know what? This could be the man show, just without the other stuff. Without the other stuff, I never watched it. I just used to see the previews, and I was like,
Yep.
wow, this is part of the dumbing down and emasculating men out of the society is craziness like that. You can be upstanding, you can be a man of God, and you can still continue to be a force in this world. Obviously, yes, we need our women. We need strong women. We need intelligent women. And I believe that in the Republican Party, I am surrounded by them. In fact, I want to give some shout outs here before we close it out. I see her in the chat on occasions, but Joanne Knipmeyer, unbelievable, strong woman who gets it. Kim Miller, friend of ours, part of the Republican Party, strong woman. Connie Beard, strong woman. Annette Thompson, she's been on many times, strong woman. Liz Hildebrand. I mean, I have a list for Mark Cuban. I'd love to get all those ladies in a room, and that would be a better show than The View. And just watch all, and you know, the beautiful thing about that meeting would be with Mark Cuban. They wouldn't go after him and tear him apart. They would love him because they're Christian women, Mark. I know that's hard to realize. They would obviously accept you and try their hardest to encourage you to turn away from the wickedness that you've seemed to fall into. And then lastly, of course, how could I not mention one of the strongest, most intelligent people I know, my wife, Mrs. Producer, Tanya Blumenshine. So they exist. Oh, I'm sorry. Before Tanya, I should have mentioned Amanda McKenzie, because that's your wife, Ryan.
Yep. Yeah,
And
she's a strong one for sure.
She's a strong, intelligent woman too. Desi Anderson. I mean, I could list a lot of names. Oh, I almost left out my friend Kat Barker, the Conservative Cat Show. I mean, the list goes on. Kathy Salvi, who's been on my show. I know that she has the spirit of Jesus Christ in her heart, and she wants to lead that way. She's bona fide. I mean, she's the real deal. I mean, they do exist, and maybe that's what we'll do once we get beyond the election. We'll start bringing on the women because I think they can speak into it. Regan Deering, I don't want to leave Regan out.
Yep.
Chelsea Leffelman. I mean, I can sit here and just name names, and I know by doing that you open yourself up to leaving friends and family. So if I think of somebody, I'll put it in the chat, or I'll make sure I give them a shout out the next time around.
Yep.
But there are so many. Deb Nord, right here locally, strong, dynamic, intelligent, conservative women who are a voice of strength for our community. Julie Dobsky, I mean, that's another one. She does it so subtly and does an amazing job, but just name after name after name. So anyhow, we've got to end it up. I appreciate it. Ryan loves you. I love you. Jesus loves you more. Until we get on to the show on Tuesday, don't forget we will be here 4 to 5 before the polls close. We'll try to give you a hint of what's going on. Believe me, it's not going to be good, but that's all right because we're prepared because we follow the King of Kings.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, until next time, I bid you farewell.
All right.